Are you suggesting that
than
the
in other
expansion
places.
of the U.S. Embassy in Pakistan is something to do with the overall expansion of the program?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we cannot provide assistance in areas like health and education, in infrastructure, without bringing people in. That means they come and they have to have administrative support and they have to have housing. I know there have been some unfortunate stories in the local media that have taken, I think, a very inaccurate look at that issue. In fact, the resources we're bringing into Pakistan are the resources that are necessary to implement Kerry Lugar. So if we don't have our economists and our agronomists and our health experts in country, they can't implement the program.
Will you then think also that some part of responsibility for public not to understand the reason for the expansion of the U.S. embassy is that the U.S. government has not been able to effectively communicate as to why the embassy expansion is taking place? As you referred to yourself to the rumors, I didn't.
Well, we're very aware of local news coverage in every country that we're in, so it's not a secret that there was some coverage that we think was quite unfortunate and quite inaccurate. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to spend some time having this conversation with you because I see it as an opportunity to explain in our own words to the people of Pakistan what we're trying to accomplish and how we're going about it. And even in the security assistance area, it needs to be clearly understood that right now the government of Pakistan is asking us for assistance in a number of key areas. Just in recent months, there was some urgent need for helicopters. The President of the United States was involved in making that happen. It was extraordinary. It is not every day that the President of the United States is involved in finding equipment to send to another country. If you look at the training for security purposes, we have people coming in working closely with the Pakistani police and the Pakistani military to train them to have the capacity to pursue the counter-terrorism that the government of Pakistan is committed to. So we view this as every step of the way working with the government of Pakistan and providing the resources that the government of Pakistan needs.
I had not planned to ask this question, but I think that I must ask this question. You know, there was in fact a rumor regarding the number of the Marines, and people said 7,000 or 1,000, ridiculous numbers. But the U.S. government was unable to clarify that. I mean, such is the trust deficit between the U.S. government and the Pakistani media that you were unable to clarify this. And we had a briefing by the foreign minister of Pakistan, and he told the media that this is ridiculous, there are 8 Marines only, and now they're asking for 15 more Marines. But you were unable to do it.
You know, I wasn't in country.
No, but I said that, you know, when we look at that, for instance, the Ambassador Richard Holbrooke has traveled to Pakistan a number of times. He has such limited contact with the Pakistani media. He's made several trips since the beginning this year, very limited contact.
You know, I'm in Pakistan today and tomorrow, and I fit into my schedule this conversation because we think it's really important to have conversations like this. We are putting a huge amount of the time and resources of the government of the United States at the most senior level into developing this relationship so that we can accomplish things that are important to our two peoples. We have to talk to each other. If it's not the right outcome if we do the right thing and people don't understand it.
Just let me come to something which if I didn't ask because we're running toward the time. Reconstruction opportunity zones which fall under your ambit. I talked to many people in the private sector in the textile industry, and they point out that in the first instance, the reconstruction opportunity zones, the people in the Senate have the reservations about the reconstruction opportunity zones, and then also certain categories of products have already been excluded from the reconstruction opportunity zones, like for instance the T-shirts and the shirts, or some of the garments have been excluded. Then they point out that the reconstruction opportunity zones, making in a highly volatile, politically unstable area where foreign investors are not going to go under no set of circumstances. The Pakistani investors will be afraid to invest in those areas. What would be, when you basically said that you want to make, you want to improve the capacity building, you want to make the real difference on the ground, do you think your administration thinks in Washington that these reconstruction opportunity zones in FATA, federally administered tribal areas, are going to make any real difference?
Well, I think that at the core is the belief that the long-term future depends on economic development. That's true in Pakistan generally. It's true in FATA as well. It's obviously more difficult in FATA than it is in other areas, but people have to believe and that there is a chance for the future to be better because of economic growth and employment.
Jack, that's true. Yeah. But I'm not
so if you look at the positions that the government of the United States has taken, going back to something I said earlier, in terms of the domestic politics in the United States, this is not a moment in time when we probably would have chosen to be making the Reconstruction Opportunity Zones a big issue. Trade agreements at a time of economic recession create all kinds of domestic political challenges in the United States. It's always the case that the industries that are most important are also the industries that are hardest hit during an economic recession. So we're working hard with the Congress, and I think that what really needs to be understood is that taking this issue up, putting it ahead of many others, really reflects how important we believe it is. And we're committed to working with the Congress to enact ROZ legislation that can deliver the kinds of results that we're talking about. In terms of how effective they are, they will be. Access to capital is a challenge in this country. It's a challenge in many sectors. We talked earlier about electric power generation. It's a problem there as well. I think there's a combination of factors that are behind it. Some of it is domestically in the control of the government of Pakistan. It's dealing with some of the conditions in terms of government policies that make investment less attractive. Some of it depends on a relationship where we work together to try to promote international investment. I don't think it's easy, but I think that without the ROZ legislation, it's much more difficult, and the ROZ legislation opens a door that we can walk through together and work towards making it effective.
But Jack, I understand. I mean, your point is true regarding the ROZs, but the concern in Pakistan's business industry is that the American concept, the U.S. concept of the ROZ is being derived from their experiences in South America, also the successful experiment in Egypt and all that. And this is actually an idea which they are thinking in Washington and trying to practice in Pakistani set of circumstances. Because if international investment is not going to go because of the political instability and because Pakistani investors will not be able to invest there, the textile people, then ROZs are not going to contribute to the Pakistani economy. What they recommend, on the other hand, which they want the US administration, for your administration to understand, especially yourself, is that if the Pakistani textile sector can get tariff reductions, in a fashion you are doing for LDCs, or in a fashion you're doing for African countries, or parallel arrangement with Egypt and Bangladesh.
So let me separate two issues. In terms of the importance of the ROZs, we heard about the importance of the ROZs from the government of Pakistan, from the finance minister of Pakistan, and from other senior members of the Pakistani government. We agreed with them, we took it up, and we're working together to try to get it done. I had meetings again in Washington and Islamabad, working shoulder to shoulder to try and make this happen. So I don't believe it is an idea that was invented in Washington. I think it was an idea that reflected Washington listening to what we heard as being an important priority for the people of Pakistan, from the government of Pakistan. In terms of the other issue you raise, it's not
tariff reductions.
The tariff reductions. The issue is a complicated one, and it has to do with the broader issue of tariff structures. Pakistan, with the great needs that it has, is no longer in the lowest level of countries in terms of being defined as most in need of assistance. There are tiers of income standards and economic standards, and Pakistan has graduated above the line. It's a very difficult issue to redefine the underlying tariff standards. It is an issue that we deal with broadly, not just U.S.-Pakistan, as we discuss long-term trade agreements. And it's something that I think we have to continue looking at and thinking about. But it's not a policy that's just a U.S.-Pakistan policy. It's a much broader issue.
Agreed.